We are here with the one and only Jose, aka the social media guy.
Hey.
We're just talking about your name.
Yeah, how it came about.
How it came about. So, real estate, right? You started real estate?
So originally I started in real estate. And you know how people always tag you, right? So I always wanted people to know exactly what it is that I did just by my Instagram handle.
Yeah.
So that's why you're social media guy.
And you didn't think nothing. Did he were you thinking as you're trying to come up with a name for your real estate, like, oh, maybe I'm going to do this in the future? Or were you just strictly, I'm going to do real estate, that's it?
No, I think I mainly wanted it to be, it wasn't just based on real estate, but I wanted people to know that I did services for social media.
Okay.
And social media is very general, so it can be either real estate, influencer, whatever, So it's just a name that just tells you what it is that I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember I first saw you in Tacos El Brazo's, one of the videos that you were shooting for like an event. And I was like, a social media guy. I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, who is this? Because I was already shooting some sort of influencers, but I was really new at that with that too, So I was like, oh shit. I was like, I have to now. Here's a guy that I'm gonna have to fucking compete against and all this shit. In that mindset, in the beginning, because you're like hungry and shit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm gonna fucking just blah blah blah. and I seen your work. I was like, fuck, man, no mames. I'm up against this guy. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm out. Honestly, that's the first thing that fucking came to my mind.
Crazy.
I was like, fuck. So in fact, I was like, okay, whatever, shit. I'm just gonna do what I can, Because honestly, bro, your shit's fucking sick, bro. Like you are very, very detailed with your videos, with how you shoot. I can tell that there's a lot of thinking behind it.
Thank you.
Before you shoot it, I know you kind of prepare some shots, or maybe even that day of, but you prepare the shots for you to edit, But it's funny because then fast forward, I got a DM from my friend Diego. Shout out Diego. He has a podcast too. And he's like, hey, this guy is looking for a photographer for a gender reveal. And I was like, oh, who is it? And then I go to your fucking page. I was like, fuck, I ain't going to do this. How am I going to go do your fucking gender reveal? And it's like, there's like, in my mind, I was like, there's no fucking way. But I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to try to associate myself with people that are because I'm gonna learn, and I like that about myself, that I always try to learn. I always try to make sure that I improve myself, So I was like, fuck the ego, fuck all that shit.
Yeah, bro.
I reached out, like, luckily you replied and shit because you already had a following, and from there we met and
yeah, and I feel like one of the things that like going back to what you were saying, like when it comes to like, I feel like everybody's unique in their own way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think everybody brings their own individualness to like the table.
Yeah, I bring basic. That's what I bring basic.
Nah, man. I feel like I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like the only difference between me and other people is like that I just own who I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if you own who you are, people are just gonna love you for that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be people that don't like my work because I add too many details.
Right.
They want more of a cinematic feel or just a slower paced video where they can, because for me, it's like, I see it from like a creative standpoint, right? For certain people, they might just see it as like, all they want to see is slow-mo, a nice color, and memories of their moment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I might not be that for them.
Right.
Because I'm more fast paced, like,
I didn't think about it like that. Because that's how I shoot. I try to shoot more story.
Yeah.
Right? I try to make sure that they relive that moment.
Exactly.
And because, again, I come from a background of weddings.
Yeah.
So, like, that's all of my job. And then when I shoot influencers or whatever, or promo videos, I always ask them, like, okay, so what are you trying to sell? What are you trying to say? That way I know what shots to get. If you notice in my videos, I always try to find either in frames or either in letters, just kind of subliminal like words that kind of trigger either positivity or, just make it feel more happy. But again, obviously, when it comes to promo videos, like, for instance, Joatsis or Louis, like, I try not to fuck with that because that's not my lane. And like you're saying, like, everyone has their own style of shooting in their own unique way. And I think my shit is not that. Like, I'm really, really more like that cinematic, basic, try to just keep it
storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling.
Yeah, and I feel like they all have their own time and purpose, Like, there's gigs that I'll get hired for, like, or that'll hit me up like, hey, can I hire you for my wedding? I'm like, that's not something that I do. You know what I mean?
Did
And
you never thought about it though?
to do weddings?
To try to do one, or have you done any?
No, I've never wanted to.
You're like,
Because I just know how hectic it is, you know, like long hours.
Yeah,
like
yeah, it is.
If you mess up the footage, like
you're fucked.
you know what I mean? It gets crazy. But yeah, I've never wanted to. I've never wanted to experiment. I think everything that I've always done has been with like, I have a marketing background and mentality, I guess.
Yeah.
That everything that I do has to be with an intention, right? So if I'm doing like a promo video, I'm like, okay, what does my audience want to see? Or like, if I'm doing like a real estate video for a realtor, like, what does a first-time home buyer want to know? You know, what does a seller want to know? Because when you do it like based on the consumer's needs, then the video gets tailored based on that, and it works, right? Because so a lot of the stuff that I used to do before in real estate was like running ads and all that stuff. So I would always reverse engineer what my targeted audience would want to know in order for them to want to reach out. Right. So when you understand that psychology, that's kind of how you start being more intentional with your videos, and that's when your videos start to work. Because there's an intention, there's a reason why you did it the way that you did it.
That's so fucking funny that you say that. I thought I was the only fucking crazy motherfucker that thought like that, you know, because it's the same thing. And my thing is networking and trying to get to meet more people, and that's my intention with my videos. It's like, how am I gonna, one, obviously cater to the client that hired me, but then also two, it's like I want to make sure, like if I want to get to a certain company, I want to make sure that the product shots are shot well. That way, hopefully,
you can reuse.
There's a higher percentage that that they might reach out because of that.
100%. Yeah, and that's kind of like the way that I see it sometimes too. Like for example, like on let's say a project that I have that I might not need to go as hard, I'll still do it knowing like, okay, well, this is a lane that I can really thrive in and bring something of value. So let me throw in a little bit extra so that when I go and pitch to a client or a client reaches out to me, and now I have this in my portfolio, say like, here's what I deliver for something right? And obviously now that ticket is higher because I've already have a visual example. Sometimes when you don't have like a visual example of something that you're trying to charge a client, they might not get the visual in their head.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh snap, like that's a lot for, a 30-second video.
Yeah.
But they don't realize the amount of work that goes into that 30-second video.
And it's dope because I seen you post on Instagram stories like how you're editing, and it shows like maybe a lot of people don't understand it, but masking is not a fucking fun thing to do, and I noticed that you do a lot of masking in your videos, and that's time consuming, bro. That's time consuming. It's not, let alone like just editing the original video. It's just masking is what's like, fuck.
It's masking,
and it's for like a second.
Exactly, like for like a
it's
split
like a
second.
Little split second.
It's like masking. It's an intention, right? It's masking with the tempo of the song at a specific cut. So, you know what I mean? It's not just like the masking, it's like other things prior for it to work.
And to build.
Exactly. Into building that little moment that people might not see, but for you
with
it
the
matters.
Transition.
Exactly.
So
you know what I mean?
Fuck.
There's some like little stuff that like I'll edit and I'm like, nobody's even gonna notice this. But like I'll do it because I know mentally when I post it, like I'm gonna feel like, okay, I added that, right? Because I don't know if this happens to you too, but I can go in on a video and then I'll post it and then I'll watch it like 20 times. I'm like, damn, I should have done this. I should have done this better. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like minimizing the amounts of I should have done that. I'd much rather do that up front. I know I'm always gonna have them regardless. Like as a creator, you're always gonna have to fight yourself.
Want
mentally
better.
Yeah, but
I do that a lot in events where it's like I come back to the editing room like, shit, I should have gone. I knew I was gonna get it, but I felt either shy or embarrassed or whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't execute on that shit. Next time I'm gonna do it, and I'll do it, in other occasions. But yeah, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
Like, so let's go back to like the beginning, like when you were young, when you were like maybe a kid, like were you always an entrepreneur? Were you always like, how were you growing up?
Nah, man, I grew up like I was lucky enough to be born here in the U.S., but I have like an immigrant mentality, right?
Okay.
So like I still really remember like my parents like always talking about la migra and like this and like that. You know what I mean? So my mind has always been like a very like scarcity mindset, right? Like just do enough to get by, enough to survive and stuff like that. I grew up in Mexico, so that like gave me like a pretty good childhood. I guess.
To what age?
Till 5.
Till 5. Okay.
Yeah, till 5. But yeah, I've never. I think until I was a little bit later, I started to realize that I did, but I didn't know what it was because I had a scarcity mindset.
Okay.
Based on like obviously my upbringing and everything. So me wanting more was more of like, there's something wrong with me, you know? I shouldn't want more because my
Damn.
mom is telling me like, you have a roof over your head, you have clothes on your back, you have food on the table, like you should be good.
Were you like a middle class type
No,
of?
lower
No,
class.
it's still
Yeah,
low
yeah,
class.
lower class. So for me, wanting more was like, there's something wrong internally with me
Yeah.
that why am I not happy with what I have? You
That's
know,
fucking
when
crazy.
like everybody else around me is like, you should be happy with everything that you have.
Yeah.
So I think now looking back, I've always had it, but since I didn't have a role model or a person that could tell me like, it's not that something is wrong with you, it's you just want something different,
Yeah.
right? Because obviously I wasn't happy seeing my mom struggling, you know, my family struggling and stuff like that. So I would always want more. I was like, there's got to be more, you know? I vividly remember, bro, like looking at magazines and looking at like exotic cars, and I'm like, damn, must be nice. Damn, must be
Yeah.
nice, you know? But there was that little seed in me, I guess, that I always.
And I think, yeah, I know what
wanted
you're
more.
saying. I think also is a lot of our family, and I can speak for mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if they kind of would say that rich people were assholes, you know, and it's like we
It's
have
a
that-
never-ending battle between
Yes.
the upper class and the lower class.
Yeah, and it's like I'm pretty sure there's some people that
Really
are
nice
rich that are
ones.
fucking cool, you
Yeah.
know, and sometimes you wanting more would kind of trigger, or at least for me, it would trigger the family in terms of saying like, oh well, you know, that's too much stress, you know, just be a doctor, be a lawyer, be like something,
Yeah.
just be happy and shit. It's like I went through the same thing, you know,
Yeah.
where it's like you want more, and like you're saying, I was dyslexic and I was like a fucking terrible kid in school.
I hate it.
So I wasn't able to comprehend like the other kids. I wasn't able to understand. My way of learning was just hearing and seeing and doing. And then once I was able to get my hands on it, I was able to fucking go. But it was not that many kids like that until I started hearing about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs and business and all that stuff. I was like, well, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah,
I'm not alone. So like,
yeah.
I feel what you're saying in terms of,
Yeah, I feel like social media really like helped me kind of get my foot in the door when it came to like entrepreneurship, because back in the day when Facebook was like obviously heavier than Instagram, I started listening to this book, and they're talking about like, you know, reach out to people on Facebook or like stuff like that and see if they can mentor you and stuff like that. That's when I started learning about certain words or certain things that were available to me, like resources like a mentor or like somebody in my field that I want to like be like or learn from, that I can reach out to, and maybe they'll like take me as an intern or whatever, right? So that's kind of how I got started. I became an intern at this mortgage company for these 2 loan officers. And during that time, like I've always had a passion for cameras, but I didn't know that I can make a living off of it, right? I always felt like, again, like from my background, that's not a career, you know? Like you said, it's either a degree or you're working at a restaurant or something like that. So when they had me there as an intern, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to bring my camera, just take pictures for them, because that's when social media was like kicking off for real estate. And I'll give them some content in return for them, you know, having me as an intern, you know, like, you know, it's a win-win for both of us. So that's kind of how it all got started for me. And then long story short, the president of the company liked what I was doing. He gave me a job offer. So I came up to Irvine, had a meeting with him, gave me a job offer, and I took it. And that's kind of how like, I was like, okay, like now I can make a living off of.
So you were doing all that for free? How long?
For about 1.5 years.
Damn, that's fucking.
Yeah, because I had to get my real estate license. I had to get my NMLS license, study through all that, still working. Like, yeah, it was a lot.
Man, that's crazy. And at the same time, you're learning the real estate aspect of it.
Yeah.
You're learning, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
so that's really what like gave me a head start when I launched my business, because I already understood the lingo. I already understood the loan officer's perspective, the realtor's mentality, their lingo, the challenges that they go through, how they're reaching out to potential home buyers or home sellers, and it's not working, right? So I kind of had like I think it's a third person, right?
Yeah.
So like a third person like view of everything. So I was like a coach and just seeing the players play. Like, so I'm like, oh, that's wrong, or like, oh, like this and that. So, and I'm very analytical. Like I analyze people. Like sometimes people think that I'm just quiet, but it's not just that I'm quiet. Like I'm analyzing everything. Like that's just the way that I am.
Crazy.
And so during that time, I was just analyzing like everything. So when it came time for me launching my business, if I was to go up to a meeting with a loan officer or lender, and let's say I'm competing against another videographer, I would take that. Why? Because I would dress like the loan officer, because I would mentally tell them like, he's a representation of me. So who do I want? Somebody that's going in sneakers and jeans and a hoodie, or this guy who's like dressed like me,
Yeah.
who talks like me, who understands me, like, you know what I mean? So that mentality like really gave me the edge when it came to like getting gigs and growing. Because I went from like starting a company, bro. I went from making $1,600 that same year to making over 6 figures within that same time span by just hitting it, bro. Like by becoming a videographer within a niche that needed somebody like me, but wasn't there because not everybody understood their problems and their challenges, right? So when I was creating marketing pieces talking about, oh, this and you should do it this way,
Giving
like,
them advice.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, like
Bringing more value.
he's not just a videographer.
Yeah.
Like he really understands. Like, and I never thought about that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what really gave me that push when it came to starting off my career, you know, in that sense.
And then from there, obviously, you dabbed into the social media because I don't really know much of your background. So like, it was real estate, and then you.
Yeah. So when so I was in real estate for about 2 years, and then when COVID happened, I had already built a team. And during that time, like I just started seeing everything crumble. Like we couldn't do listing videos anymore. We couldn't do like the normal traditional marketing stuff that we would do for our realtors. So a lot of the contracts just started like, started getting screwed. So I think I held on to the team for like 4 months, like just literally bleeding money, bro. Because I didn't know if it was gonna be only like a 3-month thing, like the quarantine.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can make it through the 3-4 months, like it's fine, and then we'll get back up and going, like we'll be straight. But obviously, like 2 years in, you know what I mean? So during that time, since I did still have the team, I was like, you know what? Like I'm gonna start going after people that I generally want to work with, you know. And who was that? Like influencers, you know. I've always wanted to work with influencers, and so my mentality was like, well, just like us, they can't work, so they're gonna be stuck at home, which means more time on their phone. So with that, I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna create something, post it, tag them, send it to them, and if it works out, it works out. Literally, the first one, boom, worked out, and then from there it just kept going. Yeah. So I made one for Benny, was the first one that I made for, and then the day after that, made one for Alondra, and then that's when like the whole Corridos Tumbados thing started taking off. So I made one for Ovi when they launched Pacas Verdes and Nata. They liked it. Fucked with it.
And what exactly did you make?
It was like a slide animation, so it's literally all I did because I didn't have a way to shoot with them, right? And obviously on YouTube, like if you try to download footage, it just looks like shit.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not about to pitch somebody with like shitty ass video quality, right? So at the time, one of my friends, one of the guys that was working for me, Connor, he had a concept which was like images, make it into like a slide animation that just made it look fucking cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let's do that for them because I had never seen it, you know? So when we did that, it worked out and it just kept going and going. And that's how I met Benny. That's how I met Alondra. That's how I met all the other influencers. That's how I met Nata. That's how I met Ovi.
Crazy. So like, you didn't know them?
I didn't know them, bro. I didn't know anybody.
Holy shit.
Like this is like 0 influencers knew who I was.
And what year was this?
2020. Like around January, March, April, like around May.
So when I went to go shoot the gender reveal, you had barely.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's when you blew up.
Yeah.
Quick.
In a year, everything took. And the funny thing is, bro, that I remember when all this stuff was going down, I did a video, like, because my intent is always to like give back, right? If I can help out or I can like shine light onto something that you might not be aware of that can help you, like I'll go ahead and do that. So I know that when I was doing the real estate stuff, a lot of videographers within that space would look up to me because of where I was.
Yeah.
So I made a video talking about like, you know, it's not just you taking a hit. Like Dwayne The Rock Johnson had to postpone X movie because of this, and that. And I was like, do this. Like literally what I said, what I told people to do, I did it.
Yeah.
And it worked. You know what I mean? So now looking back, it's like, damn, like that was cool.
Damn, bro. I honestly didn't know that it was that fucking quick.
Yeah.
Or that recent.
A year. Yeah.
Because I'm telling you, when I saw you, it was around that, like 2019 when I see you do, you know, an event. But like, I honestly thought you had been in the video with influencers and all that stuff for a while, bro.
Like in a year.
Fuck, that's fucking trippy. So even Louis and all them, like you didn't, you started working with them after the.
Yeah.
Who was your first influencer then, Benny?
Benny. Yeah, Benny. Benny was the first one that gave me a shot.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So you're just getting started.
Yeah.
So a lot of people know you as a social media guy.
Yeah.
Like, I know you started your YouTube channel. That was obviously after you started working with influencers, right?
It
Or
was
that
it was
before?
literally right before that. It was literally like a month before that.
Damn.
Yeah, it was like a month before that.
So your page right now, how many subscribers do you have?
We're
You're
like
already
44,000, 44.4.
How long again? Since 2000.
Kind of around the same time frame.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah, so
You
like
guys
a little under a year.
Damn. So they know you as in your YouTube page. Do they know you as a social media guy still, or are you trying to somehow separate your name, the social media guy, with Jose? How is that? How is your mind?
No, because I feel like that's kind of like one of the challenges that a lot of people have when it comes to like their branding is that they try to be one thing here and then one thing here. But in reality, like if you're just yourself across the board, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to create an alter ego, I guess, if you will, to kind of connect with people, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, for me, this is my lifestyle. Like your social media guy is a lifestyle to me, you know, and that name represents family, fitness, my faith, my purpose, my passion, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all that is like an umbrella of that. So I don't have to be somebody different here and somebody different here. It's just who I am, you know?
Are you going to continue like the social media brand?
Yeah, I actually want to make it even bigger.
Fuck.
So, because originally, so my company name is Visionary Media, but nobody knows that, you know? Everybody knows you're a social media guy. So I want to create that into a brand to where it's like, I've never really pushed it. It's just kind of been my Instagram handle. But I've never really pushed for that to be a brand that means something more than just me.
Yeah.
You know, so I want to create it to where it's like sort of like an empowerment of people, because I come from nothing, you know? So if I can, as cliche as it sounds, as cheesy as it sounds, if I can do it, like you can do it, you know? Yeah. Because I have a lot of like messed up limiting beliefs still stuck in my head. And if I'm able to force myself past that, then anybody can.
Like just for people that are like,
just like that I can't become a millionaire, you know, that I can't do multiple flips of properties a year, like that I can't have multiple 6-figure incomes, like things like that, you know? So
they creep in, you know,
and I work on them like every single day, just like in anything, right? Like I chip away. Even if I don't feel like it, I'll chip away, you know, little by little. So for me, I want to be a representation of that, you know, that you don't have to have access to a lot of people, that you don't have to know a lot of people, that you don't have to have a bunch of money to start investing, that you don't need to have the resources, just the things that sometimes as people we think we need in order to succeed. Like for example, like as a content creator, like you need to have the best camera, or you need to have a red to put out bangers, you know, like that's just not the case, you know? So I want to be a visual representation of somebody who started where I started and say like, damn, like he did it without anything. And he was able to get there, you know? Because I've been fortunate enough to like rub elbows with like people who I never thought I would be in a room with.
Of course,
you know?
shit. I mean,
so it's like now I'm really having fun with it. Like now I'm really playing my purpose.
Are you present? Like, do you feel that you're present as, because sometimes even for me, like I'm working with this person, sometimes I don't even get excited in a way in terms of like the amount of followers or the amount of, you know, how big they are. Cause I'm just fucking going.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't ever think about that. Like whenever I'm working with somebody, my goal is never like, damn, like how is he seeing me? Like, I'm seeing it as like, damn, I want to do a fucking banger. You know what I mean? Because for me, every single person represents a specific project in my mind. Right. So like, for example, like let's say with Louis, I know I can do this type of video and it will work really well. And I have that in my mind. I know that he's my character for that video.
In a certain style.
Exactly. Or X person is, I want to do this kind of video because it just fits this like vision in my head that it's going to work.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just focus on like my task at hand and what I'm going to do with that specific project. You know?
Yeah.
Like obviously I always have like a respect for them in terms of like their privacy. So I'll never be like, hey, like, can I vlog the behind the scenes or stuff like that? Like I've worked with so many people that people can tell me like, oh, you should have vlogged that, or you should have done this. But I'm like, nah, like for me, my priority is to make sure my job is good. And if I vibe with that person and eventually something happens, then all for it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I made that mistake in the beginning. Obviously I was learning. and I was trying to take advantage of the opportunity.
The moment.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm going to create a YouTube channel. I'm going to start my YouTube channel, get behind the scenes and stuff like that. I think that I should have gone that route where it's like, I need to be cool with them first. And then for me to, cause obviously as they're cool people, you know, the majority of people that I work with, I'm pretty sure you work with, they're really cool people. So they're not going to say no, but it does kind of feel weird, you know, not knowing them like that. And then you're like, hey, like, let me go take a shower in your fucking house.
Yeah. Because you got to realize something too. Like they have a lot of, what's it called? Trust issues.
Yeah.
You know, and it isn't because you're a bad person. It's because like they know that certain people are willing to do certain things in order for them to get their name out there or for their own personal benefit. Right. So when you think of it that way, it's like, okay, like, you know, like I'm just going to go and do my work. And, you know, if God has a plan for something else to happen afterwards, then albeit, you know,
that was a decision after that I made. Cause I remember before I would like, oh, let's take a selfie. And obviously there's always a strategy. It's as fucked up as it sounds, and I'm not scared to say it, you know, because
it's a branding move.
Because I have to brand myself, and I have to make sure that people are aware and that know that, hey, who I'm working with and all that stuff. But however,
so that's the thing. Like, I feel like I want to make that very clear. Sometimes people think that when you do that, it's for clout.
Yeah, like
or whatever,
you're showing off or shit like that.
But what people don't realize is that it's never about you getting to their fan base or whatever. It's about you representing like where you stand in your career.
Exactly.
And a lot of times not a lot of people are aware to the extent where they see things like that. You know
like
I mean?
us as creators, we have to strategize and we have to feel like, even for Louis, dude, Louis' fucking party has gotten me so much fucking business. Just that little 1 minute clip has gotten me so much. I didn't think about it at the time that it was gonna gonna happen. What I was thinking about was, I'm gonna make this fucking video a crazy ass dope. Yeah. It's quick, simple, basic. Just I want people to live that moment. Like if they were there. And I got that feedback, right? But then there's sometimes where I'll try to strategize something. I'll try to pull, and sometimes it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? So like, again, like you're saying, there's people out there that maybe they think that we're posting stuff for clout or that we're like showing off and shit like that. But I feel it's more than that. And
you're running a business, and that's the part that people don't realize. Like they gotta remove the person aspect of it and think about the business perspective of it, like the branding, the marketing, like everything. Right? You gotta you're trying to keep going. You know, like the way that I think about it whenever I work with somebody is like, this isn't going to be the first and the last time that I work with them. Yeah. I'm already seeing other projects. I'm already thinking about other stuff. And even when I'm there, I'm like, hey, like, you know, like, have you ever thought about doing something like this? You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, like I said, people don't know that I come from like a marketing background.
So you have little strategies.
Yeah. So whenever I'm like, hey, like if I'm shooting a merch video, I'm like, hey, have you ever thought about doing like a retargeting video where it's like super simple and you just invite, you know, for example, like on, I think it's Shopify or some like websites, whenever somebody adds to cart and then they don't check out, Shopify has that information. And yes, they'll send them an email saying like a reminder, like, hey, check out or whatever. But one of the things that people don't realize is that you can actually make a video. And since you've already pixeled them, so you have that data, you can run a Facebook ad retargeting them, saying like for example, let's say it's a girl. Be like, hey, babe, I know that you added this to cart and you maybe forgot about it. Maybe you checked out. So I just wanted to jump on here and maybe give you like a 10% off. So if you check out within the next 30 minutes, like here's your 10% off code. Yeah. Boom. Now you got that sell. Why? Because it's personalized and it feels like they're talking specifically to that person. And people don't think about that stuff.
That's what the marketing...
They just think from like a transaction standpoint. It's either a sell or it isn't. But they don't realize that if you cultivate your audience and you actually take the time to connect, that's long-term relationship and long-term conversions, long-term sales. Now they're going to buy your other stuff because they feel like they're a part of you.
Yeah. You spoke with them and shit.
100%.
That's crazy, bro.
You know?
Damn.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a piece of advice would be like, whenever you feel like you can bring something of value to that specific person, let them know. Because they might not be aware of it. Because sometimes what's common knowledge to you might not be common knowledge to them. Yeah. And that's something that I had to learn to like always remind myself that even though for me it might be simple to think about a certain thing, but for other people that might not be the case. Regardless of how big you see them and they have all this following, sometimes you see them as like, oh, they must know everything. But that's not the case. Like some people are very just specific to a certain thing, you know? Like I've talked to people who I would think would be into like real estate or other stuff, and they're not. And I'm like, oh shit, like, you know.
So what would be like some advice to, like, since obviously I'm a videographer, you're a videographer. One, there's no fucking competition because
Yeah, I love that. I love that you said that earlier, because I feel like if there was more people willing to, if there was more creatives willing to reach out to other creatives and asking them, hey, like, how can I do this? Or hey, how do you do that?
because I've
I
reached
feel
out
like,
to you a couple
yeah,
times. Like when I'm not the type of like I don't give a fuck. Like I'm,
Yeah.
and before again, when you're hungry and I when I started this, I was by myself. Like
Yeah.
there's no help from. There's help in terms of getting to influencers, but there's no help in terms of photography or videography, right? Shout out to Jose for Elegancia Events. Like he's the one that put me on to like the first one. So. But again, that hunger in the beginning, you
Yeah.
do get that ego. You do get that, you know, fuck, I'm gonna like fuck everyone else. I'm gonna, you know, I'm gonna take everyone. Like, you know, you get that motivation. But then after you realize that it's you learn more when you collab with people. You learn more from other content
Yeah.
creators because they have a different style and you have a different style.
Yeah, and then you
wonder.
also make it better too for like, for example, like let's say other influencers, right? Like there's certain times where I can't do a certain event, or like they invite me as a guest and like they'll have somebody else, and it's like I don't take that personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't either. And I
Yeah.
would think that I would before of how I used to think. But yeah, I've seen that a lot too, you know, and especially when obviously I'm not available now because we're like super busy. Like there's always I always say that to everyone, like, look, you come and go.
Yeah.
Because when you're starting out, you have a lot of time. You're starting out. You
Yeah.
have more time to edit. You have more time to be like not creative, but you know you just have more time. But then as time goes on, you get more busy. You get a following, and then you have less time. Then there's gonna be another guy that's gonna come that has even more hunger than you or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck, and then they take over. You know, so
Yeah.
I'm aware of that, and it's good that I'm noticing that you're jumping into a different space now. You know, but before that, I wanted like the advice. What was that advice that you?
Like networking is everything, you know, when it comes to like growth and learning, you know.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people that have started off, again, kind of how I was saying, right? When you take the time to like learn from other people, you learn in months what they learn in years.
Yeah.
Right? So you can literally jump from being a beginner to within a year, like already have crazy experience with like
Yeah.
masking, transitions, timing, music, you name it. You know what I mean? And I feel like if you do that, that shortens your time frame of growth, and also too, it minimizes your fear of losing.
Yeah.
You know, because at first you do see people as competition because you're like, damn, I gotta go up against that. Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
gotta go up against that. But the reality of things is like, the way that I see it in my head is, obviously there's a quote, it's a very popular quote that says, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
For me, it's like, I'm going to work hard and I'm
And
going to keep
fucking-
doubling on my talent, and nobody's going to fucking beat me.
Yeah, yeah,
Nobody's going to outwork me. Nobody's going to, that's my mentality.
Yeah.
And I don't mean it as in like in an aggressive way towards another creative.
But it's just yourself.
Me.
Yeah,
I have
yourself.
to take myself there, because that's what continues to give me that hunger. Because I've been in situations to where I've reached a certain level of success and I'm like, cool, like I'll start coasting, I'll start going out fancy dinners, I'll start doing this,
Start
start
getting
getting
comfortable.
designer. And then it's like, oh shit, like what am I doing? You know what I mean? And I don't like that. Like,
And you're human. You're human. Everyone
Yeah.
goes through that fucking phase. At a
But
certain
for me,
moment.
since I'm so aware, it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It like mentally messes with me. Like I'm like, this is not who you are. Like you're not even close to where you want to be. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know? So because of, I've had that happen obviously when COVID happened. So that just kind of gave me that drive again to be like, no, never.
Yeah.
Like, never again. Like never settle, never stop, because it's one thing to get to a certain point and another thing is to maintain it.
Yeah.
And maintaining and thriving,
That shit's fucking
that's
hard, bro.
the hard part.
That's fucking
You know
hard.
what I mean? That takes waking up early in the morning, going to work, going back, doing your thing, being a dad, editing, going to sleep late, only getting 4 hours of sleep, commuting, driving,
Eating.
this and that. You know what I mean? So because of that reason, I feel like if I can provide you with what works for me and you grab whatever you think is best for you and you run with it, that's going to make you a way better creative in a shorter period of time than it took me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like if creators had more of the ability to ask questions, say, hey, can I shadow you? Hey, can I do this, and that? Like, there's enough room for everybody.
But
bro.
I would say also, like, to anyone that's out there, be humble, dude.
Yeah.
Like, be humble, because Jose has been like the most fucking
Thank you, bro.
positive. Like,
Thank you, man.
I didn't expect that. Like, honestly, there's a couple people that in this podcast I'm going to mention as we continue to do episodes, because I'm inviting people that I know that possibly are down to do it. And when I asked you to do this episode, you fucking no hesitation, like, and that's fucking cool as fuck, bro. Like, that means a lot to me, because you're a videographer. I'm a videographer, and maybe other people think like, oh, like, because I'm not gonna lie, there's been a couple vendors that like, hey, like, they didn't hit you up, or they're hitting him up, or they're hitting you up instead of, and it's like, bro, I don't even think about it like that.
Either,
you know what I'm saying? I honestly don't think about it like that, because I'm like, there's gonna be more opportunities for everyone. There's
100%.
The sun shines for everyone. Like, this is not the end. We're just getting started. And then for me too, I love video, but I'm not in love with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like doing it, and I feel that I have some sort of little talent for it. It comes easy to me. But at the end of the day, that's not what I want. I don't want to be 75 and fucking be doing videography. Like, I have other plans. So
100%.
there's sometimes where other people think that this is what I want to do the rest of my life, and it's like, nah, my G, like, I got other things that I want to do. Like, there's other plans that are coming that has nothing to do with influencers, or that has nothing to do with the videography of weddings and stuff like that. So I would say be humble, talk to videographers, reach out to people. Like, there are cool people out there, like Jose, myself, hopefully.
Yeah.
and don't be scared. Like, there is going to be some people that turn you down. There's going to be people that are like that, but
that's just their character. It has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with them.
Exactly.
If they're not confident with their own, where they're at in their career or in their business or whatever, like, that's when you start getting those like insecurities. Pop out, and when you reach out to them, they're not gonna want to. But that's because they're fearful of like losing whatever they have.
Last question I wanted to ask you before we move on to what you're doing now. Was there any moment in your career where you had to make a decision? Because obviously you have a family, and like, I don't know how much money you were making in terms of like the real estate, and how much money you had saved up. Like, was there a drop? Was there a specific moment where you're like, shit, I'm gonna risk this to make this business, or I'm gonna risk this to jump into this field, to do something different?
Yeah. So I think the first time that ever happened was when I was working at the mortgage company. I went from, again, like, I was like 1,600 because I was working at a bakery. I was making 1,600 there, and then when I got that job offer, they offered me 3,750. For me, I was like, fuck, like, I made it. Fuck. You know what I mean? So that's going back to my mentality, right? Like, of my perspective in life and income and everything, right? So that was like, fuck, that's a dream career. You know what I mean? 3,750. I have this, I have that. Like, cool. And then 3 months in, I was like, man, like, this isn't what I want to do. Especially because, how you were talking about, like, have you ever came to somebody and they don't see your vision? That was for me during that time, because they were all older real estate professionals, right? So they didn't understand social media. They were trying to do the old school way of doing things onto social media, and that wasn't going to work. So during that time, I started kind of building my business on the side, and I had 2 clients. Those 2 clients on a retainer, they were $3,000. So that's still $750 under what I was making, right? Yeah. And so during that time, I was, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go all in. Like, I'm gonna go all in. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna figure it out. I didn't know, like, if my clients were gonna stay next month, and I was gonna be screwed, And during that time, I had just moved out to our apartment, so now I had more expenses, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go for it. And I ended up doing it in the same year. Within that year, I went from that to 6 figures, like, in that year. So that risk paid off.
Fuck.
So it was cool.
But again, that's you believing in you and what you're capable of doing. And that's one of the things.
One thing about me, and this is something that I'm very thankful for with my mom, even though when I was younger, I never understood it. Whenever I was sick, she would make me go to school, go to the nurse, and if the nurse said that I was sick, then I could go back home. It was never like, oh, I feel sick, you're gonna stay home, and that's it. Yeah. No, like, she would force me to, like, show up. So that's kind of the same thing with business. Like, whenever you don't feel like it, whenever you're tired, whenever you're whatever, that's when you show up, because that's what makes all the difference. So
Discipline.
I was confident in that aspect of like, if this happens, I'm gonna figure out a way to make it work. You know what I mean? And there were situations too where, I don't think it was that year, but maybe the year after, where, let's say a client, you know, jump off, right? And I needed that income. Well, now, since I had other people that were hitting me up that couldn't necessarily afford me at the time, I'm like, hey, I know you wanted to hire me. Like, how about I give it to you for this price?
Yeah.
So it's $500 off, whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, boom, done. So now, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So now you become resourceful. Now it's like, okay, if I take a hit of $3,000, somebody that could only afford me at $2,000 is willing to still pay that. Okay, I'm gonna go take that $2,000, make a sick ass video, and then use that to promote my business. And now I'm getting another one.
Strategy.
Now I'm tapping into their sphere of influence, because their sphere of influence is gonna be like, oh shit, like, where did this video came from?
Yeah.
Like, nobody has ever done a video like this. So now their sphere of influence is hitting me up. So now you get confident in that, like, figuring it out moment, you know? So as you get bigger and as you grow, you're willing to take more risks. You know, let's say, for example, you start off with taking a risk of 1,000. Now you're taking a risk of 5. Now you're taking a 10. You know what I mean? And it keeps going. So that's kind of like the psychology when it comes to, like, in anything that I do.
But again, believing in yourself.
You have to.
You have to fucking believe in yourself.
Because if you don't, you got to realize that you have to be okay with burning that boat, you know? And
I fucking love that. I heard that shit before. It's like, that shit hit hard.
Yeah.
Like,
because now there's no
way going back.
There's no way out. All you have is forward. And it sounds kind of cheesy, and I feel like sometimes, like, quotes get kind of that, like, cheesy vibe, but it's the truth. When you really understand it and you go through it, you're like, that makes so much sense. If I burn that boat now, there's no way that I'm not going to survive. There is no way that I'm not going to succeed, because I know that it's my only route. It's my only path. And it sucks. It feels like shit, you know, but, you know, again, goes back to that confidence and being disciplined with that.
So now let's move forward to, like, present. Now we're here.
Yeah.
COVID's fucking still fucking thing, you know?
Yeah.
But I was telling my in the last episode, Oscar, that it was funny that everyone opened up different businesses.
Yeah.
I started investing in the market because of fucking TikToks, those fucking stupid videos. Yeah, like, hey, invest in this. But I made some, I'm not gonna say a lot of money, but for the amount of money that I invested in the coins and crypto and all that stuff, I made a pretty good amount of money, and I know that you're involved. You're, like, really knowledgeable in that, and I was excited for this episode too, because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't know what's going on, or maybe they've heard some things that are going on, but they're not
properly informed.
They're not informed of what's going on. I would tell I was talking to my brother too last time about, like, the whole, when we were young, our parents grew up when the internet happened, but they did not
take advantage of it,
you know, because they were not involved with that, or nor they knew people. Mine were immigrants,
same.
So they missed that wave, right? But we're young. If we miss that, somos unos pendejos.
Yeah.
And
this is that moment,
and this is a fucking moment. Like, this is, I feel that we're, like, transitioning to the new era of technology, right?
Yeah.
And if we're left behind, if you guys are not fucking doing your research, I'm sorry, but that's,
it's on you.
It's on you, because the opportunity
it's gonna be your biggest L.
Is fucking here.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, not exactly what you're invested in, but, like,
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So
what are you doing right now with that?
So for me, kind of how I got started first is, like, one of my buddies, he has a crazy portfolio. He has a 6-figure portfolio, just like in crypto. And so he would tell me about it, and I'm like, whatever. Like, I never really thought anything of it, right? And I was like, cool, like, I'll put $50, $100. Like, if I lose it, I don't care. And so that's kind of how it got started. And then I forgot what I did, bro. Oh, ya me acordé. That was before Dogecoin became a thing.
Yeah.
And I was watching some videos on TikTok, like you said, and Dogecoin came out. They're like, oh, it's going to do this. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to put, like, $200 in it. Like, and that's still a small amount.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm going to put $200 in it, see what happens, right? It went from, I bought in at 0.008, and it went to, like, 15 cents.
Yeah.
Bro, at its peak, when it almost hit, like, I think it was, like, 50 or whatever, I was, like, almost $18,000 in profit just off of that. You know what I mean? So when I realized that, I was like, there's something here, right? Like, I'm not educated in this space, but I have to figure this out.
Did you take it out, bro?
I took it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I took it out because one of the things that And it's something that I really want to like deep dive into, which is like the utility of things, right? But anyway, so I took it out, and my buddy, he's very knowledgeable when it comes to like the crypto space, right? He's the one that taught me about utility and market cap and like all these things, right? And so when I started really like learning about it, I'm like, oh shit, like the majority of people see crypto now in the completely wrong way. And the reason why I say that is because they see it as in like another Dogecoin,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even though that's the way that I got started, that's kind of like how everybody sees things, because the majority of people who are into crypto right now or starting to get into, they want that quick cash. They want something where they could put $100 or whatever and make 1,000 or whatever. But that's not the reality of things. It's bigger than that. And when you understand the technology and the utility, that's when you're like, oh shit, like this is going to be monstrous.
So it's deeper. It's just deeper than just basically gambling.
It's bigger than just making short-term money.
Yeah. Okay.
This is like a new way of like the internet. Like you said earlier, like it's literally another chance at the internet, right? To make crazy money. And people sometimes think like, oh, like crypto can't do this because of this. But I mean, look at Amazon, like what it was, and look at its market cap now. Like just one company in the whole stock space is the equivalent of crypto. Just one. And there's, I think, over 12,000 projects in crypto. So imagine just one Amazon is as big as like the whole total money in that Amazon is all of crypto.
Fuck.
So put that into perspective, and look how many more monster companies are. You got Apple, you got Microsoft, you got all these other companies, right? So when you start seeing it from that perspective, it's like, okay, how can I get myself in now into the companies that I feel that in the future are going to be as big as the Amazon, as the Apple, as the Microsoft, right? So I started really doing a lot of research in terms of like utility, relationships, the people running these companies, because they are companies. They're not just a coin or a token. Like they're legit businesses. And I feel like that's the missing piece when it comes to like the education on crypto, because they think it's just a token, even though it is. But the reality, if you really want to be successful and make big bags, is focus on the tokens that have an actual business behind it.
So that's what I was going to ask you, because I understand that. Okay, so like Dogecoin was a meme, right? It was just a fucking joke or whatever. It turned into the people made it popular, and that shit popped out. That was a good fucking that's a good decision you fucking pulled out. Because just quickly, I invested, I think it was $500, but it was like not a cent. It was like probably a little bit less than that, and it went up to maybe 11,000. But I just kept it. And once it started going down, I fucking put it out. So I fucked up. You know, I wasn't that smart. But what was I gonna ask you? So behind every crypto, there's technology behind it.
Not
right?
every single one of them.
Okay, so like, but explain. Let's just say, let's choose a crypto that I love, that
XRP.
XRP. What is behind that, and what is a company behind?
Okay, so XRP is basically liquidity.
Okay.
Liquidity meaning that as of right now, in every single bank across the world, since the US is the world reserve currency.
Okay.
Right? So meaning that anywhere in the world that you go, the US dollar is the one, right? So whenever you want to send money from here to, let's say, Mexico, there has to be dollars amount sitting in a bank account, just sitting there, waiting for that transaction to happen for them to be able to fulfill that transaction, right? So that means that there's trillions of dollars literally sitting in bank accounts across the world that are just sitting. They can't be used. They can't be brought out back into the economy where they can repurpose that, do other stuff, pay out the national debt, stuff like that.
Okay.
So with XRP, what they're doing is that they're creating a super fast paced transaction, which means that for example, like, you know how like banks right now, they take about 3 to 5 days for that money to transfer or whatever, and they charge fees. Well, with XRP, it's instant and it's fractions of a cent. You can send $1 million and you get charged like cents, pennies. As of now, if you send $1 million, you get hit with a couple $100, right? So one of the things that they're solving is that liquidity problem, which means that it will allow that money that's sitting in bank accounts, which is called Vostra Nostra accounts, to come back into circulation, as well as being able to create a more of a fluid economy in terms of like exchange throughout the world. So you can send money instantly. You don't have to wait for the banks to be open. It's literally done in seconds. So let's say, for example, if you're trying to send money from the U.S. to Mexico, it'll go U.S. money, converts into XRP, XRP then sells, and then converts into Mexican peso. And it's all done in 3 seconds.
Quick.
As of right now, if you want to do that, there has to be 3 to 5. It gets sent in. Somebody has to review it, approve a transaction at a certain amount, and then it gets converted into Mexican pesos, and then the whole process.
Okay, so question. When you invest in XRP, let's just say I put $100. Is that the amount of money that I have in that account that I can send somewhere else, or is that a different?
So you're in, like, for example, let's say XRP is the token, so you're investing in the token, and there's technology within that token.
Okay.
So you're owning the technology.
Okay.
So you can use XRP to build. That's another thing. I'm telling you, bro, it's a whole different monster,
that's what's I feel that's what's confusing about it, because let's just say that, like you're saying, you can transfer money from here to here. What company what company?
That all that's done on the back end. That's all banks.
Okay.
Like you won't ever.
But
really
does someone
that.
else have to have that same?
Only the banks have to have XRP.
Okay, so what we're trying to do is for the banks to have XRP, that we can use that technology to transfer the money.
So it's basically replacing the current system
so the banks,
that's in place
as
now.
of yet, haven't jumped on. They already did.
There's Bank of America, Santander. You have the Bank of England. You have the bank in Egypt. Like major fucking banks, bro. Major banks. Like if I was to tell you like in detail like how connected they are, it's crazy. Like they're literally on the. Are you familiar with the World Economic Forum?
Yeah.
So they are literally on boards with the World Economic Forum. Like their CEO is a part of those meetings, which means that what they're trying to do now is create more of like a digital currency, and XRP is going to be the backbone of that. You know, the only reason why it's not yet there is because it's currently being sued by the SEC here in the U.S. because they're considering it a security, which is not. And the SEC is pretty much losing the lawsuit. But as XRP, once they win that case, they're going to be the first crypto ever to be regulated, to have clarity. Meaning that all the money that the banks are waiting for it to have that clarity are going to be dumped into XRP. A lot of people are speculating that if that is the case, Ripple, the XRP right now is at $1.19, I believe. They're saying that the price can go up to 10,000 to up to 35,000 per token.
Hold on, I'm gonna take out my phone right now. Fucking,
I'm telling you, bro.
Put a couple grand.
Yeah, and it's a lot. It's deeper than just the money aspect of it. Like again, like you said, when you understand the technology and the people that are behind it and the relationships, like it's deep, bro. It's deep. Like Rosie Rios, she was the U.S. Treasurer, and she was responsible for, I want to say, 4 trillion out of the 5 trillion in circulation. She left that to join Ripple, Ripple is the company that manages XRP. There's people that were in the SEC that joined Ripple. Like their team, bro, is like.
So it's happening.
It's happening.
No matter what the fuck. Like
yeah, but the
happening.
thing is that people are so caught up in making that quick money now into like meme coins like Dogecoin and.
They have to
Shiba
look. You guys have to look into the technology, into the background.
But not everybody has the willingness to do it because again they get stuck in just making quick money, right? But when you really deep dive and start researching these technologies and like seeing that they're going to be the Amazons, the Apples of the future within the next 5-10 years, I honestly think it's sooner, because if you look at the growth from when the internet started to how we are now, like everything happens like this.
Yeah, quick.
It feels like it happens overnight, you know? So technology is going to continue to become faster, which means that the time span between XRP being what it's going to be shorter. What would have taken 10-15 years can be 5, can be, you know, a lot less than that. So I really just educate myself in the technology, the utility, meaning that they actually solve real world issues, that the people behind it are, you know, legit people, and that they carry a big name, you know. So that's kind of what I focus on a lot. And so XRP is my number one.
Damn.
Yeah.
The next thing I wanted to ask you was NFTs. NFTs, I feel that.
Let me add one more before we go into NFTs.
Okay.
So it kind of has to do with NFTs too, though. So My second biggest one is called Ecomi. It is, I'm gonna call it right now. It's gonna be the Amazon of NFTs.
Oh shit.
And the reason why I say that is because every single one of the NFTs that's being dropped through them are all licensed by the brands. They're all like legit.
They're legit,
you know?
legit.
They're legit. Like it's not just some random person coming up with the project just to make the money, and then you have a JPEG and that's it. You know what I mean? And you think it's worth $5,000, $10,000, whatever. With Vivi, every single one of their NFTs is licensed by a brand. So, for example, one of my recent ones that I just got was a Disney drop.
I seen it.
Yeah,
I seen it.
bought it for 60. I got lucky. Right now, it's sitting at close to 2,000 just off of that one. And this is just the beginning, bro. Like
I mean, because it was first, just for people to understand, it's the first time Disney
has ever dropped an NFT.
has ever dropped an NFT. So
digital
think
collectible.
about like their first, you know,
Think about their first sketch ever done in like a Disney character.
that's fucking crazy.
Exactly. And
You got
I got the Mickey hat and the Homer Simpson one. My Homer right now is like at 700, and then my Mickey is at like 2K.
and they just because we're gonna dive into like the NFT, that's more of an amount they only let out.
Yeah, so they're very limited. So for example, like they'll drop only 4,000, and there's millions of people in the world. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
they
Yeah.
want that shit.
So even when they do that, right now I think Vivi has about 900,000 users. When I got into Vivi, maybe they had like 100K or something.
So
like that.
what is for people, and obviously for me
Mm-hmm.
that are not understanding, what is Vivi? Is that a company where you make those NFTs, or what?
So
is that?
Vivi is think about what Amazon is to products.
Okay.
That's what Vivi is to NFTs.
Okay.
Same thing. So Vivi is the company that makes sure that they do the drops, that they work with the brands to make sure that the artwork is legit, like everything is like it's
Makes it legit.
yeah, it makes it legit. But the biggest play that I feel that Omi has is that they're going to become a metaverse, which is
Because that's another fucking. That's another thing that fucking Facebook.
yeah. So here,
Drop.
think about this way, right? The metaverse, it's gonna be a world, right? NFTs are gonna have utility. They're gonna have collectibles. It's gonna be something that represents who you are, and crypto is gonna be the currency.
Of making
that.
transactions.
So you know what I mean? So if you see how digital everything is gonna become, then that's how everything starts to make sense. You know, now you're gonna start seeing things like being able to buy digital land, so much stuff, clothing, their NFTs, just
From
so
like, let's
much
just
stuff.
say Levi's wants to sell clothes,
Digital jeans.
digital jeans. You're gonna be able to buy that.
Yeah.
Or
And
do you
can-
think they'll be able to? They'll sell a certain amount as well, or how would they?
Yeah,
keep
they have
that?
to, because that's what gives it that value,
Right,
I
'cause-
mean, think about what to the kids now. What's that game? I always draw a blank on it.
What, Fortnite.
Fortnite. Think about what Fortnite is to the kids right now.
Yeah,
right?
my kids do that shit. Hey, Dad, can I have like $50 for
For a
V-Bucks
skin.
and shit like that? And it's a skin. I'm like, what the fuck?
Okay, so now think about that, right? So what the metaverse is going to become, and even gaming is going to become its own economy, to where you can, let's say, for example, for a game like Fortnite comes up. Well, now whenever you buy a skin, because if you buy a skin now, you're never getting that money back. It's
Yeah, yeah.
You just have the skin and that's it.
Yeah, they lose a game, they lose their login, shit,
Everything.
it's gone.
So with the new age of gaming, whenever you buy, let's say, a weapon, a skin, or whatever, it's going to be an NFT, which means that NFT, if it's a limited amount, you can sell that NFT in the marketplace, like on OpenSea, and make money from it. You can play gaming and actually get, crypto in form of, get paid out in that game's native token. Right. So now it has its own reason as to why you would want to game, and it's okay for you to game because now you're making income from it. So a lot of things are going to be more beneficial towards not just the artist or the brand, but also to the consumer. So another thing is like in music, right? There's a platform called Audius, which I really think is going to be really successful. The artist gets the majority of the money from their streams, plus their audience gets rewards in terms of like tokens, so that they can get stuff from like their favorite artists,
Merch and shit like that.
Yeah, merch, stuff like that. And then now if you're talking metaverse, like
That's
think
a
about-
fucking world on its own.
think about what Travis Scott did to Fortnite whenever he had a concert. that's the exact same thing that the metaverse is going to be, but just more interactive. Like you can literally create your own world within the metaverse. For example, let's say I'm an influencer, right? Well, as an influencer, well, I'm going to have my own world, right? What represents me? I have this, I have that.
You can invite.
I can my fans can go into my metaverse, do challenges, do this, earn rewards. They can get tokens. They can use those tokens for me to give them a shout out or for things like that. And me as an influencer or as an artist or whatever, I can go into that metaverse digitally and engage with my fans, be there with them, like.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
That's insane. A totally different.
Yeah, it's really really deep. Like when you really start, one of the things that crypto taught me, it taught me first about finance, economics, how shit really works on the back end. Like it's not just like how I grew up thinking it was, and it just taught me like so much, bro. Like in terms of like,
I also feel that people are scared too, though. Like
it's hard to see it.
Devil's advocate, because let's just say you invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum. Mm-hmm. Those are always going up and down.
Yeah.
So is there going to be a point where your money is your money?
Yes, when there's regulatory clarity. Because you got to realize that the stock market was the same that crypto is now before it was regulated. Okay. Before it had that stability.
Yeah,
before there was enough money.
Yeah.
When there's enough money in a certain market, then it's stable.
Okay.
Because right now, let's say, what's his name? Elon Musk sells X amount of his stock. The market's not going to come down. It does a little hint, but it's not as much. In crypto, if a whale, meaning somebody that has a lot of money invested into it, makes a big move, it brings the whole market with it. Because now it causes fear. Now it's like, oh, why are they selling? Why this and that? You know what I mean? So it creates that like fear as the reason. That's the reason why it's so volatile. But when there's enough, what's it called? Companies invested into crypto, then it's going to create that stability.
Do you think there's going to be like, let's just say, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, all those cryptocurrencies are going to be like the stock market, but then there's also going to be like a different coin that's going to be like the US dollar type of thing.
So right now they're speculating that there's this coin called USDC that they're thinking that's going to be the US digital dollar, but that is going to be the thing when it comes to...
Because I feel at that point when either that happens or something has to happen, I feel that for the majority of people to have that trust and be like, okay, so $1 is going to be $1 in a fucking year or two. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be 10,000. It's going to be zero.
Hear me out. Our system right now is that as time progresses and inflation happens, well, let's say your dollar is now really only worth 99 cents or 98 cents. It keeps becoming less. So with crypto, it's actually an asset. So it appreciates over time. When inflation is hitting, crypto goes up. When inflation is hitting, real estate goes up. When inflation is hitting, stock goes up. So it's kind of like we are already living that. But since crypto is such a new term, it feels like it's not a thing.
Legit.
Right? Exactly. It's not legit. And also because it's not yet regulated. But there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes right now to make sure that it is regulated.
How far do you think, or how long do you think it will be till it becomes like the US dollar type of vibe? Like when it becomes like
mainstream. I would probably say within the next 5 years. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff already going on behind the scenes.
Now it's like, especially because of fucking the whole pandemic. I feel that that was a big highlight.
So here's one of the things. Here's I think the bad side of crypto. So right now, the bill that our current president Biden just passed, where he wants to, even if you make X amount in Venmo, they want to.
Yeah.
They want to.
So wait, quick. What is your opinion on that?
Obviously I hate it, but that just kind of tells you where we're going, right? The reason why I much rather get into crypto now than wait until crypto is a thing is because I much rather make a ton of money now, knowing that because eventually every single move that you make is going to be trackable.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
You can't bullshit.
You can't do shit.
No more cash.
Yeah, so that's kind of like, if you start analyzing the patterns as to how things are coming about, them tracking your Venmo, them tracking your Zelle, them tracking your Cash App is only a slow and steady process for you to be okay with them making for them to be able to see every single one of your transactions. They're gonna be with crypto or just digital assets in general, digital currency. They're gonna be able to see where the money came from and where it went.
Yeah.
There's no missing anything. Like there's nothing that's gonna be missing.
I feel that it's a good thing and a bad thing. A good thing for people that like small businesses that are not legit, or that vendors and stuff like that. Because for me, like when I purchased this house, they wouldn't count my Venmo, they wouldn't count my
all that stuff. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And they couldn't approve me because of it. So like I feel that for some people it's gonna benefit them, and some people it's gonna be like shit. Like now me, it's like fuck, I don't want them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So. But I mean, like in anything, right? There's always going to be workarounds for anything, and there's always going to be loopholes. But that's just like where we're going in terms of like a new world order.
Right. Has there been family members or friends or people that you thought that were really cool with you that perhaps didn't believe in, or not necessarily believe, like straight up, oh, shut the fuck up,
Yeah,
like,
I mean, 100%, bro. Like that was like, I feel like. One thing that people don't know about me is that a lot of like my drive comes from situations like that, from people doubting me, people criticizing me, people saying whatever the fuck, right? You're always gonna have people that are either not gonna support you because they think that you can and they don't want to see you be bigger than them,
envious,
or you also have that other side of like, you gotta realize too that it's not a normal thing. So since their generation didn't grow up with this being a thing, it's hard for them to see it as like,
to understand.
So sometimes they might not tell you it in a bad way, but that's just all they know, so you kind of have to be aware of like who is who. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to like
I look at it as before I would get like frustrated with that too, with family members or stuff like that. When they didn't understand, they would be like, oh, this was lazy, but then I started realizing, I was like, they just don't understand. And sometimes it sucks because you do care. You do care about what they say, because they're family, they're blood, they're friends, they're colleagues.
They're your intimate circle.
Yeah. But then at the same time, it's funny because you still don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
At the same time, because you're like, I'm still going to fucking do my shit. It sucks that you don't believe.
Yeah.
Because it would be cool because, sometimes they'll even close themselves from opportunities. Because then when you're doing something, they'll be like, hey, like,
no, and you're like nah.
You're like, hey, what's this?
And I 100% agree with you, bro. Because like, there's people that I've known before YouTube and like all this stuff that would made fun of me for it. That now all of a sudden want to do it.
Like, hey, what camera should I buy?
Bro, and I'm a nice guy, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm the type of person that if I can help you, I'm gonna help you because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
Right. But now it's like you just close that door.
Yeah.
If it would have been the other way around, like everything that I have would have been yours.
Yep.
Would have been accessible to you. But because since you acted a certain way, like I no longer have that willingness to want to contribute. Because
that's why you're not supposed to be envious of people. No matter how much. Like I've never been like for instance, you tell me like, oh, I'm making $1 million. Let's just say $2 million a month, whatever. I'm not gonna be envious of that because my mindset it's like, fuck, that's fucking dope, bro. Like
I can do that shit too.
I want to do that shit.
Yeah.
But then there's other people, and that's why I always said it. I think it all comes down to self-aware and self-esteem.
Yeah.
Where you're at, when you're like, if you're really happy, you're not gonna give a fuck about where the other person's at, whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I want my friends to do way better than me because I know that I'll always have access to them and learn from them. And a lot of times people want their friends to be less because they want to be on top. But your top might be here, and somebody else's might be here. I much rather like be the small fish looking up at my friends that are here because I know that's how much I can climb up. Than be here knowing that my friends are here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that means like I can only move so little. Like there's this quote that says, "I much rather be the small fish in the big pond than the big fish in the small pond."
Yeah.
And that
makes sense.
It's the reality of things. You have when you see it from that perspective of like it's not about who's beating me or who has more or who has that. It's like, how can I learn from people that have already done it?
Yeah.
And I can do it faster and better, or even build something together, Like my friends that I'm always with, the ones that own the Ferraris and the McLarens,
Yeah, we're gonna get into that.
Crazy,
You
bro.
own
An R8.
an R8. But it's a company. What is the name of the company?
Exotic car culture.
So that's your company. That's another company that you invested in. That used like how many cars you have? What cars?
So under that umbrella, we have my friend's cars too, but it was originally just the R8 and the i8.
Okay.
Those are the only two.
I've been in the IA. That's just fucking badass.
Yeah, it's clean. I miss it.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys take swings like crazy, bro. Like, so what they do is that they actually they do business funding, but they also do loans.
Okay.
On their business funding, I'll go in sometimes because sometimes I audit out of their office, be like, "Yo, we just got 100K this morning." I'm like, what the
But that's
fuck?
inspiring, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
inspiring.
Yeah.
That's like, oh fuck yeah, bro. Like,
I can do that too, you know?
Yeah.
And they're doing it consistently. It's like, oh, today I got 80K. Oh, today I got 50K. Like, you know, this month we generated over 6 figures. I'm like, fuck, you know? Like, so those are the kind of people that I like to surround myself with, because now I know that with my money, I can allocate it better.
convert it.
And make better returns, right? So, for example, my next move is to do a couple flips. Get that cash that I get from those flips and put that into properties out of state, like in Texas, Arizona. Why? Because the point of entry to get there is lower. For example, like here in California, let's say for you to get a $500 return, you would have to put $100,000 down in a property. So now you have $100,000 down into a property that's only generating you $300. You can go to Arizona and put $30,000 and it generates you $1,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just a better way of like allocating your funds in terms of like be more strategic. So those are kind of like the plays
So now you're gonna thinking into dabbling into real estate.
So I paid. I went to an event in Vegas. I paid to go to an event in Vegas about like flipping and stuff like that, and so that's why
You're like looking into that.
Yeah, because I already knew like the majority of things when it comes to real estate, but there's little things that like when it comes to like creative financing or how to like leverage other people's money, and stuff like that I wanted to learn, and that thing really taught me everything. You know, I can literally go into a property with like only $5,000 of my own money and have a private lender or a hard money lender cover up to 80 or 90%, and then do a private for the rest.
I need to learn that shit because I'm trying to dabble into that.
That's
Like
what I'm
obviously I
saying.
have this, but like that was more like the normal traditional way of doing, you know, buying a house. But in terms of business, I need to look into that. Cause
Yeah. So even leveraging your credit to start a business.
my credit's shit, bro.
Yeah.
My credit's at 5 fucking like,
Yeah.
dude, my
Well,
shit,
you can hit up my guys. They'll clean it up for you.
like that's fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
And credit is super important.
I know it is, bro. I fucking realized that shit when we were trying to buy the house.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you make enough money, but you know, your shit's fucking whack.
Yeah. So
You're not approved.
So I if I was to know what I know now, I would starting off, I would much rather have a better credit
Yes.
than
Because you're using the
$50,000
bank's-
in my bank account.
You're using the bank's money.
Yeah.
At that point, you're using other people's money, and you know you're not risking your own. And
Yeah,
shit, you
or
know?
anything like that. You know, like my buddies are fucking crazy. Like
dope.
obviously their expertise is in business funding and getting lines of credit and cash and stuff like that, right? So one of the things that they taught me is like if on certain cards, like credit cards, if you can get a line of 10,000, they can hit that same bank account and get 3 more of those for the same amount. So now you have 40,000, right? On a business account. Well, then there's other cash loans that you can get up to $100,000 cash that are not secured, meaning that you don't have to back it up with something, right? $100,000 cash like this, just like back to back every single day.
Obviously, with good credit.
Yeah,
I need
good
that.
credit.
I need to fix my credit.
But even if you do it like on your business, it's better to do it on your business because the amounts are larger. It doesn't affect your personal, and it's better if you have larger amounts on your business, and then it shows that you pay it off,
Right?
Because it shows that you're.
But they still go off. Like even if you try to open a business credit, they still go off. Still your personal a little bit. So sorry guys, I still need to clean my shit up.
Yeah, I mean, just you can hire a credit repair company a little.
I tried doing that shit, but they say that my shit's like, you know, like when someone's already gone.
Really?
Like hey, bro,
What
like
the fuck?
your shit's like.
Damn.
But I do need to fix that shit.
Well, you gotta. There's like there's people that do credit repair at a lower level.
Okay.
And then there's people that do credit repair at a high level.
No, yeah.
Obviously,
If you
they're
know
more
someone, bro, that
expensive.
could fucking
Yeah, because they're not
shit,
cheap, bro. Like,
I'll-
they charge a lot, but they'll make sure that your shit's
yeah.
straight.
Of course,
you
of
know?
course. No, like, but you're saying like, it's money that it's well invested money that's gonna be necessary and useful in the future.
Yeah.
You know, so
Like the way that I see it is like even in crypto, if I was to like, God forbid, something happened to me, within 5-10 years, like I know that my family is gonna be taken care of. You know what I mean? Like, I know that at the position that I put myself in now, that they're gonna have.
And I feel that's
millions
the goal.
to be
I feel
okay
that's the goal. Like, you
Yeah.
know, because what motivates you? I know, like, you have a family, right?
Yeah. So for me, it's legacy, bro.
Legacy.
Like legacy.
Same.
Like
Same.
my brother
Same.
passed away when I was young.
Damn.
So I always felt like if God left me over him was for a reason. So my whole life I've just lived that way. You know, it's like everything that I do is for a bigger purpose. Like I have to do something that outlives me. Like because of me, like the traditional cultural pattern that we had is gonna end.
Yeah.
You know, I was the first. I'm pretty confident saying that I was the first person in my generation to do something different and kind of break that pattern to where now people around me and my family are now reaching out to me like, hey, like I want to do this business, or hey, I want to do this, or like, what do you think about this? You know, now I'm that resource for family members that are older than me. You
That's
know what
dope.
I mean? And other people look up, whether they say it or not. I know that they look up to me.
Yeah.
And they follow in the same footsteps that I have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
But it's a good feeling.
it's a good feeling because all I ever wanted when I was a kid was to be somebody of value. Because, long story short, my brother passed away. My parents got divorced. My mom went through her own thing. So for that whole period of time, I always felt alone, you know? So I felt like I held no value to this world, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously in school, you get bullied and this and that. So where I am at now in my life, like it's so 180, right?
Yeah.
180. To where I feel like, damn, like I really like turned everything around. Everything that people said I wouldn't be, couldn't be, or thought that I was, like I'm none of that, you know? Like that's how fitness started for me too. Like people were always calling me skinny and this and that. So that's why I got fucking jacked. You know what I
You're
mean?
like-
I'll be like, fuck you. Like I'm gonna prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Same thing with my business. Like I'm always gonna give it everything that I have because I wanted to succeed. For the people that told me that I would never succeed, like every single day, like I'm showing you that I can. You know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of my discipline and my willingness to push forward every single day comes from those dark moments.
From those, yeah.
You know, a lot of I'm a very nice guy. I'm a very happy guy, but I always have this like foot into my darkness.
Yeah,
if you will.
you're a fucking human
Yeah,
too. You know,
yeah.
you do have parts of your life where you are, you know, where shit's not going your way, and then
Yeah.
other people talking shit
Yeah.
doesn't fucking help.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
So now I just embrace that shit and I run with it. The biggest mistake that people can do when they're trying to bring me down is try to bring me down, because that shit makes me go harder, bro.
I know exactly.
So
what you're
much
saying.
harder.
I know
Like,
exactly what you're saying.
the worst thing that somebody can do to me is like praise me for what I've done.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite.
Damn, that's fucking dope. So we have some. Before we close it off, I wanted to. You have questions? We have
Yeah, I have a
questions
couple.
from your supporters.
Couple that I'm willing to answer.
Couple you're willing to ask. We're gonna ask you some.
This one's a good one.
All right, we'll put it up in the screen. That way you guys can.
Okay, cool.
Did they show their name? Or
Yeah,
no?
yeah, it shows their name.
Are you down to
Yeah,
show
yeah,
their?
yeah.
Cool. That way you can get them.
This one says, did you ever think you would be where you are now? Also, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I honestly thought I would be here, but in a completely different way. You know, I thought I was gonna be here doing real estate or mortgage loans and stuff like that. But it's crazy. Like honestly, like everything feels so surreal. Like that's why I'm so grateful with everything that I do, and I wake up with just passionate about it. You know, because it's things that I could only dream of as a kid of wanting to do. You know, that I get to live out. And in terms of where I'll be in 5 years, like, man, if crypto is what I think it's gonna be,
5 years is a long.
I wanna be
What
retired.
I've learned is 5 years is a long fucking time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a long. For me, it's a long time in terms of business and in terms of what the fucking happened. Like
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm gonna be at from here in 1 year. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
5 years is a long time.
Yeah, I would say if everything plays out in crypto and it does what I think it's gonna do, like I'll probably be retired already.
You're like,
And I'll just focus on like doing flips or investments and stuff like that. Like that's really where I see
fucking
myself.
dream. How old are you?
30. I just turned 30.
30. Fuck.
Yeah.
Damn.
How old are you?
31.
Really? Oh, you look way younger, bro.
No, I wish. Wish I was young. Wish I was 21.
Let's see.
All right, next one.
I'll do this one. Life as a dad and a creative.
Okay.
I think, you know, my kids give me like a sense of purpose, you know, like I want to give them like everything that I didn't have. And it also gives me like the ability to bring all the awareness that I can accumulate as I'm out doing what I do and bring it back to them.
You're in the
And
field.
yeah, you know, because my daughter's very aware. Like me growing up, I was always very fearful, very timid. And even now, like I sometimes like I'm like kind of shy. But she's so like mentally strong to where
Confident.
she's super confident, bro. Like sometimes she'll be like,
But that rubs off of you, you know?
yeah. Sometimes she'll be like,
They see that.
like, Daddy, like, oh, I like this and that. She's like, but I can do that too, right? As long as I like set my mind to it and I work hard, like
That's dope.
I know that I can do that too. So like,
That's dope.
you know, those are like the things that I feel like that's the side that people don't see about what we do, is that we get to experience so many people, so many cultures, so many different businesses, so
Way
many
of
different
thinking.
ways of thinking, that it gives you like a reality check as to what's possible. There's so much more out there that you weren't even aware of.
It just removes you out of the box you were in, you
Yes.
know what I'm saying? And you're like over here seeing everything.
Think
You're
about
like,
this.
oh, shit.
Culture is a bubble.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're so fearful of exiting that bubble because everybody in there is like, oh, if you leave your culture, your traditions, your beliefs, like you're leaving your family. And that's not the case.
They make you feel guilty
They
sometimes.
make you feel guilty.
It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it's not about that. If you leave that, now you have all of this other stuff to bring back and
Yeah.
bring them happiness. Because a lot of times, like, we get so stuck with culture, with habits, with traditions, that a lot of times those keeps us miserable. Those keeps us in pain. Those
Yeah.
keeps us in like where our generations have been for years, centuries, whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you're able to kind of break that norm and bring that, it brings joy, it brings opportunity, it brings fulfillment, you know, a sense
Happiness.
of purpose, you know, like all that stuff. But,
That's dope. That's
yeah.
dope. Last
So,
one?
Let's do one more.
Let's do one more.
Where did I learn my video editing from? YouTube University.
YouTube. Same, bro.
YouTube University. YouTube, honestly, is like
Game
clutch.
changer.
There's this video that I watched.
Who was your first YouTuber? Video.
McKinnon.
Peter McKinnon
Yeah,
too.
Peter McKinnon
That
is
was the
like
first.
the GOAT.
I saw him first when he was in his living room with not that
Yeah,
much
the
great
setup,
lighting and
yeah.
stuff like that. But then after, like, I was like,
He
I was
took
kind of
off.
growing with him in a sense. Like
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time he was winning, I'm like, shit, I think I'm winning too.
Yeah.
Like I was like,
It
shit.
kinda, yeah, he brought you into like his story.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I watched this video of Daddy Yankee that he says, if you're an artist today and you're complaining about why you can't succeed, like, don't even talk to me. Like,
Fuck.
you're a loser. And I was like, oh shit, because you got to
That's
realize
deep.
when he started, there was no internet, there was like no social media, like none of that stuff, and they made it happen. So now everybody today has
Platform.
equivalent resources to be successful. Whether you choose to use your time and educate yourself and learn, that's on you, but you have it available to you. And I think that's one of the things that culturally we still bring on to 2021 in terms of like education. You know, people think that you have to go to college or something to be able to learn something that can change your life. But in the reality, you can go on YouTube
Yeah.
and learn.
Yeah.
You know, you can literally create a business learning from YouTube. And I feel like if more people understood that and use YouTube more as a education platform more than as an entertainment platform, they would be a lot better in their life and they would be a lot happier, because now that they see that they have a lot more opportunities to be able to be what they want to be in ways that could probably make them happier than going the traditional route, going to college, doing the stuff that a lot of people don't want to do, you know? Like, I know for me personally, I hated school.
Oh fuck.
I didn't even graduate high school.
I didn't either. I
You
dropped
know?
out at grade 11.
Yeah.
I already had my kid at that age, so
Yeah.
I didn't have much of a choice. But I was never the fuck. That was not for me.
Yeah.
Straight up, that was
Yeah.
not for me. And luckily, again, like you're saying, YouTube fucking helped me out. The first time I heard about entrepreneurship was like Gary Vee,
Same.
and I was like I don't know what the fuck. At first I didn't like him because he was really like out there.
Yeah.
But then after I was like, dude, like he's really confident, and I need that. Like because I'm a little bitch right now. You
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
I'm like shutting
Yeah.
myself down.
Yeah.
And I'm doubting myself. I was going through some health issues at the same time. So like I was just like not in the right fucking place. But that kind of opened my eyes into words that I didn't know that existed, that kind of defined me. And YouTube has been my favorite.
So that's another thing, bro. I feel like a lot of reason why a lot of people are so unhappy is because they look for external things to make them happy instead of realizing that it's all internal. You know, if you focus more on your internal dialogue and analyzing yourself and reflecting and analyzing yourself and your patterns, like that ultimately sets you up for a better life, because you no longer have to worry about what the exterior things are saying about you or are happening, because you know who you are internal, you know?
Yeah.
And I always get asked, like, you know, how do you deal with, like, people criticizing what you do because you're always with other girls and this and that? And
Yeah, same.
I'm like, it only bothers me when it affects my partner, but it doesn't bother me because I know who I am.
Yeah.
You know, like, no girl can tell you that I've ever, like, flirted with her, asked for her number, disrespected her, or nothing like that, right? But for somebody outside looking in, culturally coming up with their own
They have their own fucking.
they have their own ideas.
They'll
as
create
to,
their
like,
stories and
they
shit.
create their own stories, their own telenovelas.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
of like, oh, he's probably doing this, like, oh, like, because she has a BBL, like, blah, 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 like, you know what I mean?
It sucks that we have that in the videography or photography world. It's like, and again, some of these influencers have like less clothes than what, you know, the normal.
And the normal.
Yeah, but I mean, it's work at the end of the day, and it's and they're human. They're not these sex symbols that just are looking to
that's
fuck.
the thing. Like everybody, I think if you're not as aware, you see these people as like something sexual.
Yeah.
Right. I see them as a brand. I'm sure you see them as a brand too, and that's the part that people can't, like, you know what I mean?
Especially because at least for me, I'm like married with my, well, not married, but I'm engaged with my girl, and she gets a lot of that. Like, how do you feel? Like, I tell her I don't care what people say about me, but when they start making her doubt, and that's when it's like, fuck, man, like, could you guys just shut the fuck up? Because like you guys are creating shit that's not
even there.
It's like, what the fuck? Like, we're good, we're happy, we're in a place where we've never thought we were gonna be in, and you guys are just fucking it up by bringing in your own fucking fears stories and your own insecurities. Yeah, then because I'm pretty sure if they were in that, they would be like jealous. You know, they would be in that if they had a man that was a videographer.
And that's how they see it, because they see
it.
They do it based on their own fears and their own insecurities.
And what they're not realizing is sometimes it's not even just the spouse that gets affected; it's the kids.
Yeah.
Because then they start hearing shit and they're like, "Wait, what? My dad's fucking around? Like, what the fuck?" And it's like, "Nah, like, what the fuck?"
Exactly.
Like, you know, so it does suck, man.
Yeah,
but,
it does, and I feel like that's one thing that, like, I feel if people were more aware, they wouldn't see things like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, one of my friends, she said something powerful. She was like, as long as the people around you know the truth, then everything else doesn't matter, you know, because anybody can come up with stories, anybody can come up with conclusions, anybody can come up with whatever. But if that's not the case, then, you know what I mean?
Damn, that's deep.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I'm sure you're confident about what you do because you're not out there doing that. You know what I mean?
Of course.
There's like work, check out, home, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So
definitely. Well, I appreciate you, bro.
Thank you for having me, bro.
I'm telling you, I appreciate you for coming. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, man.
To have you, like, you're no joke. You're a fucking badass videographer. I wanted to tell you straight up, like, I respect your hustle, your work, your dedication. Like, I admire you know what I'm saying?
Man.
Like, I look up to you as a videographer, as a business person, as someone that's fucking just hustling to make their way up and to secure their family, you know? That's for me, that's a lot, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to leave his links down below so you guys can follow him.
Thank you.
Till next time, guys, this was Influence Me. Peace.
That was fire.
Good episode.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I think one of the best ones.
Hey, appreciate you.